I don't like JRPGs. That was the mindset I've always had. Of course, like most other kids who grew up with video games, I played and loved many Pokemon games. But as the years went on, Pokemon was phased out by games like multiplayer FPS games and more story-driven cinematic games. There were many things I didn't think I would like about JRPGs. I had always heard that they were serious time sinks, they took forever for the story to actually pick up and start gaining momentum, and they were a genre that required many hours of turn-your-brain-off grinding. I hadn't thought about purchasing a JRPG ever in my life, and I was perfectly content with that. I was happy to not play games like Final Fantasy or Xenoblade Chronicles. It's just not a genre I'm interested in, I would tell myself over and over as I saw countless people in person and over the internet recommending these games to me. I always assumed I wouldn't enjoy my time spent in a JRPG and it would be a waste of my money. That is, until I played a little game called Persona 5 Royal. Back in the first week of March 2020, my university began its spring break. If only I knew how long that break was going to last. This was around the time when the quarantine started. About halfway through, the school announced that the break would be extended until late March, and at the end of that extension, the school announced that the rest of the semester would be conducted entirely online. At that point, I ended up having much more free time each week. At first, I had the intention of clearing out a good chunk of the backlog of games I've built up over the years. Then, Persona 5 Royal came and derailed my entire plan, but honestly, I couldn't be happier it did. One of my friends had been begging me to play Persona 5 ever since the original game came out in 2017. I always told him, yeah, I'll get around to it eventually, always thinking I'd get it when it was super cheap. In late March, I started seeing information about Royal and how it's a better version of the original game with added features and extra content. At this point in quarantine, I was really wanting to try a new game, and if I could find one that would take a long time to beat, then that'd be perfect because there would be no better time than now. Shockingly, even to myself, I picked up Persona 5 Royal for the full $60 price tag. I even got the sweet Steelbook edition. It was the best impulse purchase I've ever made. When I say this game is like no other game I've ever played before, I genuinely mean that. I have never played a game like Persona 5 Royal. I was worried that the game wouldn't hook me because of all the things I'd heard about JRPGs, but I was addicted after the first in-game day. There are so many things I want to talk about, so let's get into it. The entire formula of the Persona series was new to me. I've never played a game where you spend at least half of it living as an everyday student in Tokyo. And yet, it's so engaging and rewarding through things like the relationships between characters and the ranking up of social stats. Each day you must prioritize what you're going to spend your time doing. You can hang out with friends, you can go shopping, you can work at your part-time job, you can even watch a movie or play a video game inside this video game. There's so much to do, and how you spend your time is all up to you. This is only one side of the game though. The other half pertains to the metaverse and everything that goes on in that world. Not only are you a student at Shujin Academy, but you're also a phantom thief codenamed Joker. As a phantom thief, you work with a group of like-minded friends to change the hearts of evil adults for the better of society. To change their hearts, your team must travel to their palaces, which are the manifestations of their evil heart's desires, battle enemies called shadows using your personas, send a calling card to the distorted individual, and steal their treasure. It's all fun and games until changing this rotten society starts to have some serious consequences for our heroes and heroines. Through all the good work the Phantom Thieves begin to do, it attracts the attention of many villains who aren't keen on having their plans come to light. You probably think this double life might as well be two characters who are the complete opposite of each other, and the student half sounds super boring, but that's the great thing about the student aspect of your character's life. Almost everything you do during your time living as a student is effort towards strengthening yourself and your teammates while inside the metaverse. Hanging out with friends strengthens your bond with them while making them stronger, and shopping allows you to purchase items that can be used while in the metaverse. That's one of the best things about this game, the freedom that it gives you with your day-to-day. You choose when to go into the metaverse. You choose when to complete palaces and how fast you complete them. You choose when to spend time with your friends. It's all up to you. On paper, the student and metaverse sides of our character's life sound so incompatible, but in reality, the two sides of the game work so well to complement one another. You never feel as though you're wasting your time while being a normal student. And even though being a phantom thief in the metaverse is fun, you actually find yourself itching to get back to Shujin Academy to be a student again. Now that we've talked about your character, Joker, it's only natural that we talk about the rest of the Phantom Thieves and the other important side characters that the game has to offer. The Phantom Thieves consist of Joker, Ryuji Sakamoto, Morgana, An Takamaki, Yusuke Kitagawa, Makoto Nijima, Futaba Sakura, and Haru Okumura, plus Goro Akechi and Kasumi Yoshizawa, who joined the team later down the line. The thieves start off as a small group of misfits just trying to change an abusive teacher's heart, but by the end of the game, the Phantom Thieves aren't just a group of friends trying to reform society, they're a family. If the entire game was focused solely on the metaverse aspect, then the thieves would feel like nothing more than co-workers at a really slamming 9 to 5. But because of the game's confidant system, it allows you to bond with your teammates outside of the metaverse, so you truly see and feel your relationships growing. We aren't just told through dialogue that this is a family of societal outcasts. We're shown that growth and bonding through the simplest of things. You can go eat ramen with Ryuji, do some gardening with Haru, or go to the batting cages with Kasumi. You get to see and experience all of these natural moments in our characters' lives. The Phantom Thieves, along with many other side characters, get fleshed out side stories that are optional for you to complete. If you choose to complete every confidant, which I wasn't even able to do until my second playthrough because there are 23 of them, then every character becomes a much more three-dimensional version of themselves. There are many things that aren't resolved for our side characters in the main story. Things like Yusuke still struggling to find inspiration for his art, or Haru still being engaged to an abusive fiancé. These problems are only solved if you choose to spend time with your friends and help them out. The confidant system is my favorite part of the game, bar none. Not only does it have a purpose in the story by using the bonds you created and strengthened throughout the game to give you the power to overcome the most powerful of enemies, but they're just fun to take part in. You grow attached to every side character you encounter, no matter how mean they are to you in the beginning of the game. Just kidding, I love you, Coffee Dad. Even though most, if not all of the confidant stories follow the same structure, they are all character specific. They're not just cookie cutter side quests. I would argue that the confidant system in the Persona series is the reason the characters are so adored by the fans. Each side character you meet, no matter how unimportant they seem to you in the beginning, gets their time to shine if you choose to spend your time with them. Not only that, but each of these confidants have unique skills to share with your character that will aid you in your life, both as a student and as a Phantom Thief. That is the beauty of the confidant system. I know the idea of turn-based combat is the reason a ton of people choose not to get into the JRPG genre in the first place. Trust me, it was the reason I stayed out of it for so long as well. But this is not the run-of-the-mill Pokemon turn-based combat. Don't get me wrong, I love and grew up with Pokemon, but regarding the combat, Pokemon's hasn't innovated or really changed over the years. Persona 5 Royal's combat truly is something special. You don't even have to play the game to realize the combat is something special. Just watching gameplay has a level of action you wouldn't expect to see from a turn-based game. Through dialogue in the battles, impressive character animations, and the style of the UI while fighting, the turn-based action of the game isn't boring in the slightest. There are many specialties to discover through battling as well. The team dynamic is very apparent during the combat, of course. Your teammates are relying on you, and each other. The thieves complement each other after impressive moves. They get nervous after someone misses. The dialogue of the team makes the stakes feel raised and the action feel more intense. The animations are another part of what keeps the player so engaged during combat. The team at Atlas has a very interesting strategy to break up the monotony of turn-based action. While they still have regular animations for normal attacks, they have special animations for character combos and knocking an enemy down while hitting its weakness. There are special character combos called showtimes which team up certain duos of characters to have these huge bombastic finishers. The best part is that each showtime is not only so fun to watch, but they all incorporate character traits and each duo's dynamic into their unique showtime. The other special animation is for hitting an enemy's weakness. If you do that, an animation called a cut-in will flash across the screen for whichever character attacked, and they're all drawn beautifully and distinctly. If you knock an enemy down, then you can perform what's called an all-out attack, and this will trigger a full beatdown utilizing all team members and reveals an exclusive character illustration for whoever initiated the enemy knockdown. It's no question my favorite part of the combat. And maybe the most important part of making the combat more than meets the eye is the jaw-dropping style that the combat UI has. Everything you see on the screen during combat is stylized. Combat options, health bars, team organization, enemy information. It's got all the wacky lettering and jumping off the screen personality you want and expect from a Persona game. Now that I've talked about the style of the combat, it's only natural I talk about the world of Persona 5 Royal and just how stylized it is. Never before have I seen a game with such a unique and pronounced sense of style. The best and most eye-catching things about the world of P5R are the designs of the characters, the personas, and the metaverse. Before we talk about the designs of the Phantom Thieves, I want to talk about the designs of the characters in the real world. When first seeing the characters of Persona, it's easy to write them off as having the generic anime look with wacky hair colors and over-accentuated features, but look closer. Each character has a distinct physical feature that complements their personality. Ryuji has his blonde hair that he refuses to change back to its natural color, just reinforcing his defiance of society. Maruki wears the lab coat of a therapist, showing his capability in the field, but also wears a pair of slip-on sandals to show the easygoing side that he wants the students of Shujin to see, so they'll feel comfortable coming to talk with him. Futaba almost never goes anywhere without her classic headphones over her ears, showing just how tech-savvy she is, while also showing how nervous she is to communicate with people she doesn't know. Even Kasumi's simple red ribbon in her hair has more significance than any other character feature in the game. Each and every character has some quirk in their design that offers an insight into that character's personality and viewpoints. Time for the much more fun character design in P5R. Unlike Persona users in the previous games, the Phantom Thieves awaken to their personas by ripping off a mask and unleashing their rebellious spirit. This spirit manifests their costumes in the metaverse. For the majority of the Phantom Thieves, I don't see as much personal significance to their metaverse outfits compared to their designs in the real world or their personas, but that doesn't stop them from being epic anyways. While some are, unnecessary, they're all still very well designed. Joker's outfit has the most significance in the story because he's the trickster, given power to stop the ruin that will destroy the world as they know it. He's very much a trickster and a gentleman thief. Each character gets a codename in the metaverse based on their costume. Ryuji is Skull, Yusuke is Fox, Akechi is Crow, you get the idea. The identity protection of the masks and codenames make the operations in the palaces feel even more like heists that are planned out by a band of thieves. The designs of the Phantom Thieves themselves have got nothing on the designs of their personas. I'm so impressed by how much character Shigenori Soichima was able to put into the designs. Each member of the Phantom Thieves has a persona completely unique to them that's based on a fictional or mythological character. Joker has Arsene, Skull has Captain Kidd, Morgana has Zoro, Panther has Carmen, Fox has Goemon, Queen has Johanna, Oracle has Necronomicon, Noir has Melody, Crow has Robin Hood, and Violet has Cendrillon. These personas are meant to be the perfect representation of each team member's rebellious spirit, and each persona perfectly encapsulates their respective member's arc in the story. Like I said before, Joker is the trickster, so naturally his persona, Arsene, is based on the fictional legend of the gentleman thief Arsène Lupin. I won't spoil anything major, but Kasumi's arc is perfectly characterized by her persona Cendrillon. Cendrillon, being based on Cinderella, is a princess until the clock strikes midnight. Her persona even has glass slippers and a clock as her torso. It's already a great design when you see it for the first time, but after playing through Royal once, her persona's design takes on much more meaning. It's just perfect persona design for Kasumi and everyone else as well. Like I said earlier, during the time you spend as a normal student, you get to choose what you want to do with your time. If you choose to spend time with one of your friends, that'll rank up their confidant, which in turn powers them up in the metaverse. If you max out a confidant that's a Phantom Thief, that member's persona will go through what's called a second awakening. This gives the character's persona stat buffs, a new skill, and most importantly, a sick new design. Ryuji's goes from pirate to Monkey King, Futaba's goes from UFO to the moon from Majora's Mask, and Makoto's motorcycle goes full Transformer mode. I mean, look at this thing. I would be traumatized if I tried to fight this mechanical beast. While I still prefer the original personas over the Second Awakening personas, they're all still unique and super stylish. Now on to my favorite persona designs, the Third Awakenings. The Third Awakenings and the Third Semester are both added in Royal. During this time, you can go to each of your friends, and if you've maxed their confidants, they will go through a change once again and awaken to their persona's true power. Every Third Awakening persona is similar to that team member's initial persona in appearance, but the Chad energy is just dialed up to 11. Every team member's persona gets such a cool upgrade in style while still maintaining the heart of the original persona. Even though it's paid DLC, which is awful, Arsene even gets a Third Awakening persona with Raoul. Raoul gets the Batman Beyond and Spider-Man 2099 treatment. He keeps the Gentleman Thief identity, but gets a sick new pair of mechanical wings. The Third Awakenings also serve an important and wholesome purpose for the Phantom Thieves. The Second and Third Awakenings of each of their personas only happen because of a change in their own hearts. It's ironic. The entire game's premise focuses on you and your teammates changing the hearts of evil palace owners, but the hearts that change the most are the hearts of you and your friends through the bonds you all share. I've got to touch on the incredible level design in Persona 5 Royal, both in and out of the metaverse. There are 8 palaces total in the game. There's also Mementos, the procedurally generated dungeon, but this area, although grand in size, is pretty lackluster in things that the Phantom Thieves can do, at least until later on in the game. The palaces are the bread and butter of P5R. They aren't just your average dungeons. These levels are heavily tied to the palace owner's character. Each palace is based on the distortions of the palace owner's heart. For example, Kamoshida, the game's first villain, sees himself as the king of Shujin Academy, so his palace is a castle. Each palace is unique to each palace owner's distortions. Not only do all palaces have a unique design aesthetically, but they have different gameplay mechanics for each. In one level, you'll be on a spaceship flying out of airlocks, and in another, you'll be in a museum jumping into paintings. When you finally make your way through the entire palace, you're stopped dead in your tracks by some of the most terrifying and grotesque final bosses I've ever seen. The final bosses are all truly monsters, just as their characters are in real life, only you can see them for what they truly are in the metaverse. The dialogue between the bosses and the Phantom Thieves adds extra emotion to the battle and offers even more satisfaction once you defeat them. The metaverse is only half of the great level design in the game. The other half is in the real world. This game isn't an open world game, but that works in its favor. The game utilizes hub levels to condense the size of the overall map to really jam-pack as much love, care, and detail that they could into these Tokyo streets. They really find a clever way to incorporate the idea of hub levels into the game by using the trains as the link between hubs. The world map even looks like a map you would pick up at a subway system to look at the trains running. They really make Tokyo feel alive with random conversations you can listen to and all the places you can interact with. There are shops, restaurants, recreational areas, and more. There's also one easily missed but very appreciated piece of world building that I loved seeing. Even though the general population are low-quality PNGs walking around and riding trains with little to no personality for the most part, there are a few instances that these citizens feel real. During special holidays or events, the general population in Tokyo changes with these holidays and events. On Halloween, there are students dressed up in costumes. During the fireworks celebrations, many people are seen wearing traditional yukata. It just gives the world that much more character, and it's all the better for it. The more the story progresses, the more Tokyo opens up to Joker. This game is the main reason I want to travel to Japan. I want to see Tokyo for myself. I want to see everything it has to offer. But until I can go, Persona 5 Royal is a fine substitute for the real thing. There's one more area of the world worth talking about: the Velvet Room. It's a staple in every Persona game. It's a place between dreams and reality. The Velvet Room is a representation of the protagonist's heart. In Persona 5 Royal, because of the unfortunate circumstances that brought Joker to Tokyo, he views the Velvet Room as a prison where he is the sole inmate. It's home to Igor and the Twin Wardens, there to assist Joker in his rehabilitation and to stop the ruin of the world that's coming. It gives us a literal look into Joker's heart, and it feels cramped and claustrophobic with no form of escape. It's nice to get this background into the main character since he's mostly a silent protagonist. I've only played Persona 5 Royal, but I'm sure the Velvet Room is just as supernatural and unique in all other Persona games as it is in this one. The style of Persona 5 Royal doesn't stop at the designs of the characters and levels. It bleeds into every aspect of the game. The overworld has just as much style in the UI that the metaverse has. The menu of the game has an identity of its own. Every section of the menu has a specific portrait of Joker. For the equip section, it has a portrait of Joker taking aim with his weapon. In the confidant section, each confidant gets their own one-on-one portrait with Joker. Each section has art designed specifically for that section of the menu. The developers even took the time to make animations for switching between sections of the menu. Not only that, but if you look long and hard enough, you'll find multiple Easter eggs that are so rewarding to stumble onto. The most notable and my favorite part of the overworld UI is easily the character portraits. Persona 5 Royal is a 100+ hour game, and the majority of that time is spent in dialogue. To give more texture to these scenes, character portraits for all characters are used, and they really help with character expression. The emotions the characters are able to express through their portraits goes a long way to really engage the player in what's happening in the story. These portraits also make it very easy to become attached to the characters. A big part of my attachment to these characters stems from the characters and their portraits. The music in Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal is perfect, and a big aspect of the games. They're both some of the best original soundtracks I've ever heard. The tracks just have that unshakable Persona style that get their hooks in your brain and won't let go. I 100% completed P5R in early September and the soundtrack is still in my head. For the entirety of writing this script, I was listening to a mix of songs from Royal. Shoji Meguro and Lin bring a real identity to these soundtracks. It's all connected. The original Persona 5 soundtrack and Persona 5 Royal soundtrack have two completely separate feels, with the P5 soundtrack taking on a jazzy feel with some rock mixed in, and the P5R soundtrack feeling, well, royal, with a very classical and tranquil vibe coming from many of the songs. In Meguro's words, he wanted the P5R soundtrack to have a gorgeous feel, as well as the royal aspect. Even with these two differences in sound, they both somehow flow with each other to create a steady vision throughout the game. The tracks on both OSTs have this power to strongly evoke whatever emotion the scene they're accompanying is trying to bring out of the player. I went through so many emotions playing this game, and I only felt them as strongly as I did because of the songs supplementing the story. I found myself stifling tears multiple times throughout P5R. Sometimes they were tears of joy, and other times they were tears of sadness. It could be the most dreadful or inspiring scene, but what I would realize is that the thing always triggering the waterworks for me was the music. I mean, you try to listen to Take Over and tell me you don't want to boogie down. The music brought out these emotions, not just the story itself. These are the best soundtracks I've ever heard in a video game or otherwise, and it really will stick with me for the rest of my life. Since Persona 5 Royal was my first Persona game that I played, I wasn't aware of what was and what wasn't exclusive to Royal until I didn't max out Maruki's Confidant and I missed out on the majority of the new content. It had taken me 2 months to get to that point, and at first, I was very upset that I missed the entire third semester and I'd have to spend another 2 months getting caught up in the story with New Game Plus. But then, I thought about it. All this means is that I get to play this masterpiece again, only this time I get even more content than I did during my first playthrough. Like I said, I didn't play the original Persona 5, so my knowledge of the differences between the original and Royal is limited, but I'd still like to touch on them based on what I do know. Persona 5 Royal makes many changes and additions to the original Persona 5 experience. One of these additions is adding an entirely new area to travel to. Kichijoji is a brand new section of Tokyo that has food stands, shops, a temple, a jazz club, and my favorite location, a darts and billiards club called the Penguin Sniper. What's great about Kichijoji is that almost every place you can visit in the area gives you a way to become stronger in your Phantom Thieves missions. The temple and jazz club are both very nice to enjoy a moment of peace and serenity that comes with both locales. At least the temple would be if Morgana wasn't constantly interrupting your meditation! At the jazz club, Morgana leaves you alone and you can enjoy a calming moment. You can even invite a friend to come and enjoy the music as well. But the best part of Kichijoji is definitely the Penguin Sniper. Here, you can play darts in a new minigame and also billiards. I really enjoy going to Kichijoji mostly for the Penguin Sniper and Jazz Club, because they both really show how the Phantom Thieves are more like a family than just teammates while in the metaverse. I love seeing them spend time together just acting like friends their age would. At the beginning of the third semester, you're teamed up with Akechi and Kasumi to take on the 7th Palace. I won't say what's going on with the rest of the Phantom Thieves because that's a major spoiler for Royal. I like the change in dynamic of the Royal trio compared to the regular Phantom Thieves. Akechi's obviously a murderer and Kasumi didn't even want to be a Phantom Thief, but they both want to beat the owner of this palace as much as Joker does. And with the team only consisting of 3 members, it adds tension to clearing this palace. This is your team. There's no member swapping like you could previously. If a teammate goes down, it causes a greater shift in battle than it would have before. And of course, making the team consist of only these 3 characters really gives Kasumi and Akechi a chance to shine where they didn't get to up until this point. Akechi was very disliked in the original Persona 5, but now he's the favorite of many fans. This game is Kasumi's debut, so the third semester really delves into her character compared to the previous semesters you've spent with her. When I finished the game for the first time, I thought these characters were alright, but nothing to write home about. But after I played through the third semester in New Game Plus, Kasumi and Akechi are both in my top 5 favorite characters of the game. They also get Showtime finishers with Joker, and they're both amazing. Kasumi in Joker's Showtime is my favorite Showtime in the game because I love her character and her dynamic with Joker, but Akechi's Showtime with Joker is probably my second favorite. He's so terrifying, and you see the hatred Akechi has for Joker, but also the respect they have for one another while working to defeat this palace owner. I love both of these characters so much now thanks to the third semester in Royal, and it's a crying shame that Royal isn't canon to Dancing in Starlight or Strikers. Yet. Another great thing about Royal is the Thieves' Den. In the Den, you can view all kinds of things like achievements, art, music, cutscenes, and more. You can even play a card game exclusive to the Den called Tycoon. Characters even have conversations that can only be heard in the Thieves' Den. It's a fun place to go check out when you're needing a break from the story but still want to hang around in the game and with the characters. The Thieves' Den is a celebration of the Phantom Thieves. I would recommend checking it out at least once to see all the content that's unlockable inside. Without spoiling anything major, I wanted to talk about the ending of Royal briefly. The end of Royal is very satisfying purely because of how good the villain of the 7th Palace is. The entire time you're questioning if you're even on the right side of the conflict. That's how compelling the last villain is. I didn't think that the Royal ending would be good because at the end of Persona 5 you're fighting a literal god, but they pulled it off. I loved the final battle and the wrap-up for all of the characters, except for the last scene that Kasumi and Joker share, which is a bit lackluster in my opinion. While I loved the ending of Persona 5, Persona 5 Royal's ending feels like the perfect next step for each of the characters. It doesn't feel like an epilogue to Persona 5. Persona 5 Royal feels like the definitive ending of the game. But there's always room for some more spin-offs with these characters, right Atlas? Right after this video airs, I'm going to be pulling an all-nighter to play as much Persona 5 Strikers as I can before I pass out. There's something special about the Persona series and the characters in it that has developed such a huge, devoted, and passionate fanbase. I mean, just look at all of this fan art. You don't get incredible art like this without that kind of dedicated fanbase. It makes no sense why I ever had this mindset regarding JRPGs, because I've been a big fan of anime for years now. I had just never tried a Persona game until now. The only reason I'm glad that the quarantine happened is because without it, I probably never would have played Persona 5 Royal. I don't think I'm anywhere close to being done talking about this game and series on my channel. I've talked about it for around 25 minutes already, and I still don't feel like I've expressed my love for the game properly. I can't stop thinking about Royal and the characters in it. I'm not ready for the adventures of this group to be over yet. I've never been so invested in characters before playing this game. Persona 5 Royal holds, and will always hold, a special place in my heart. It has to be my favorite game of all time, and I hope what I've said here will encourage you all to go play this game. I hope everyone can enjoy it as much as I did. It's truly a special game and a worthwhile experience for everyone. Hey everyone, this is going to be a short and simple outro because I'm not really good at them yet, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching my video. It took a lot of effort and time to get it put together. The script's been in the works since June of 2020, and it's been a back and forth getting it finished, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. So, yeah, I'm going to try to keep going with the content, and I want to get as much content out to you guys as I can. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and I'll try to be back soon. Bye-bye.